Hey there, and welcome. I am so glad you're here with us. You are diving into the very first explainer of our emotional safety series. Go ahead and take a breath, settle in, and let's just slow down for a second. Today, we're going to talk about something incredibly sensitive. It's something literally millions of people experience, but almost nobody actually has the words for. Well, our goal today is to finally give you those words. Picture this. You come home at the end of a long day. Your partner is right there. Maybe you eat dinner together, maybe you throw on your favorite show. You sleep in the exact same bed, on the same mattress, under the very same blanket. And you've done this for years. You are doing everything right. And yet, somewhere right in the middle of your chest, in a spot you can't quite point to, there's this secret, quiet ache. It's a loneliness that honestly doesn't make any sense at all. Because you're not alone, right? You're with someone. So you brush it off. You tell yourself you're just being dramatic, or that you really need to be more grateful. And then you go right back to scrolling on your phone or reading your book or washing the dishes. But that ache, it just sits there, waiting. Listen, if that description just hit a little too close to home for you, I need you to hear me very clearly. You are not broken, you are not being dramatic, and you definitely aren't ungrateful. What you're experiencing is a profoundly isolating reality that is just incredibly tough to explain to anyone else. I mean, if you were physically alone, you could easily name it. But when friends ask, hey, how's your marriage? You probably just say, oh, it's fine, or we're doing okay, because no massive blow-up has happened. Today, I promise to give you the exact language to name this experience, because putting a name to it is the very first step to actually changing it. All right, moving into section 1, disconnection, not conflict. Let's introduce a vital vocabulary word that is pretty much a game changer once you grasp what it really means for a relationship. And that word is disconnection. Now, disconnection is not distance, it is not a lack of love, and crucially, it is absolutely not conflict. Here's the crazy thing. You can love someone with all your heart and still feel completely disconnected from them. You can share a home, split the bills, raise kids together, and still feel like you're just living parallel lives. You see, marriages don't always fall apart because of massive plate-smashing screaming matches. More often than not, they fail through a growing, unseen quiet. It's this creeping distance that neither person has found the words for. So, section 2, the power of bids. This brings us to a frankly life-altering revelation from the Gottman Institute. They spent 40 years studying thousands of couples to figure out what actually makes relationships thrive versus fall apart. The biggest thing the Gottmans discovered is that the health of your relationship actually isn't predicted by how often you argue. It's not about conflict at all. It is predicted by something they call an emotional bid. An emotional bid is just any attempt to get your partner's attention, interest, affection, or response. It is a tiny, fleeting, moment-to-moment way of saying, hey, I'm here. Are you here too? And these bids, they are so incredibly ordinary. You'd probably walk right past them if you didn't know what to look for. It literally looks like pointing at a bird out the window and saying, oh, look at that. It can be a heavy sigh after a really long day at the office. It's texting them a ridiculous meme, or just reaching over and touching their arm on the couch. They are mundane, they're so easy to miss, but they are the absolute lifeblood of your connection. Check this out. The Gottmans found that partners in deeply connected, thriving relationships turn toward these emotional bids 86% of the time. Let that sink in for a second. Almost 9 times out of 10, when one partner reaches out in some tiny, mundane way, the other partner responds. They engage. They look up and say, yeah, I'm here too. But contrast that with this number. Couples who are headed for deep distance or even divorce, they turn toward those exact same bids only 33% of the time. Just 33%. You guys, this is the mechanism of emotional loneliness. It isn't one catastrophic betrayal. It is the slow, accumulated weight of unanswered bids. It's a look met with someone staring at their phone screen. A story met with total silence. An outstretched hand that finds thin air. It's months and years of 33%. Let's move to section 3. Sarah and David. We're going to look at a quick case study so we can see how this actually builds in real life. It gives us a nice, safe distance to look at our own dynamics without beating ourselves up. So Sarah is 47, and she and David have been married for 19 years. And on paper, they have a really good life. 2 kids, a nice house, a dog. But a few years ago, Sarah started noticing something a little off. She'd come home super excited about something at work, and David would just kind of glance up from his laptop, give a half-hearted, that's good, and go right back to typing. She'd mention she was stressed, and he'd just nod and immediately start talking about his own day. His responses to her bids were just getting entirely distracted. Now, Sarah told herself he was just tired, but that ache we talked about, it kept growing. Eventually, just to avoid feeling needy or overly sensitive or totally invisible, she stopped sending bids altogether. I mean, why bother, right? Which leads us to a completely ordinary Tuesday night. Sarah was washing dishes. David walked in and asked, "Hey, do you want me to dry?" She said sure, and they just stood there, side by side, washing and drying those dishes in complete, total silence. In that quiet kitchen, Sarah had this profound realization. She thought to herself, wow, this is what loneliness feels like. Not the absence of another person, it's this. And I want to be extremely clear here. David was not a bad guy. He wasn't being cruel, and he wasn't intentionally checking out. He was just tired and distracted. They were both victims of a very slow, quiet drift. Sarah stopped sending the bids, and David stopped noticing them. They ended up separated by this massive gap that neither of them could even put a name to. Which brings us to Section 4, a signal, not a verdict. This is without a doubt the most important reframe of this entire explainer. That loneliness you might be feeling right now, it is a signal. It is not a verdict. I really want you to absorb this. Your loneliness does not mean your relationship is permanently over. It isn't proof that love has completely died or that you somehow married the wrong person. It's just a signal, like a check engine light, telling you that emotional connection got deprioritized. And usually that happens totally by accident, just from the stress of living a busy life. Connection is a daily practice. It's not a fixed, permanent state. Rebuilding it doesn't mean you need to book an expensive vacation to Hawaii or make some massive romantic gesture. It literally just requires paying a little more attention and returning to those ordinary, tiny moments. Okay, Section 5, rebuilding the connection. So, how do we actually close that gap? Think of me as a trusted friend right now, giving you a hopeful, super actionable framework. You absolutely do not need to fix everything overnight. Here are 3 highly practical steps you can try out this week. First, notice the bids. For the next 7 days, just become a student of the small moments. When your partner comments on a commercial or sighs heavily, just notice it. You can't turn towards something if you don't even see it, right? Second, respond before you redirect. When your partner says something, before you look back down at your phone, before you make the conversation about your day, just give one genuine response to what they actually said. "Oh, tell me more," or "Man, that sounds frustrating." Just one response before you redirect. And third, make one bid you've stopped making. Think of something really small you used to do back in the day. Bringing them a cup of coffee, sending a random text. Just do it once this week. Reconnection always begins with one person simply deciding to reach out again. I want to validate you for a second here. If you've watched this explainer all the way to this point, it means something inside you is still trying. And honestly, that takes immense courage. It is so much easier to just numb that ache than to look directly at it. Asking the questions, seeking to understand, that is exactly where all real change starts. You are not alone in feeling alone, and you absolutely have options. I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on today. When did you first notice the gap? Take a little time to really think about that in the context of your own relationship. And as you're processing that, just know we are only getting started. In our next explainer, we're going to dive into a topic that goes right hand in hand with this: the absolutely exhausting pattern of walking on eggshells around your partner. We'll cover what it is and what it really costs you over time. You definitely won't want to miss it. Until then, take good care of yourself, start noticing those bids, and I will catch you next time.